Recently, me and my friend James shot a promotional video for my dad's gardening business, and we wanted to get some of his customers to give him some testimonials. And we really wanted to go for like a documentary style for these interviews and really challenge ourselves to see if we can actually accomplish this. And in this video, I really want to show you how you can create documentary style interviews on a low budget with a very small crew and with really bad weather conditions. We had 2 days to film 3 interviews and B-roll, which is pretty hard enough as it is anyway, but what made it even harder was the weather. But we adapted and improvised, and that's what filmmaking is all about. It doesn't always go smooth sailing. There's always something that goes wrong. There's always something that you have to deal with, and you really got to use your problem solving skills to try and work out what's the best way to do this and just go on it and really try your best. And at the end of the day, if you've got a high budget or low budget, you've just got to work with what you have and try and make the best video possible. So let's jump into the first setup, which was an indoor natural style home interview with Pat. So we're at location 1 for my dad's advert, and we're going to shoot a little interview here in the conservatory. We're literally going to have one key here, and the talent's going to be sitting on this sofa, and we're going to have 2 cameras there. We're going to have one on a tripod, like a wide angle, exposed for the background, and then light the subject. And then we're going to have a second, like, creative angle, handheld, getting in tight and mixing it up a little bit. Let's just crack on and see how we get on.
Sam's kindly invited me to join in the shoot as camera operator. We were hoping to have Sam's dad here to do the interview questions, but he's a bit unwell, so Sam's going to monitor the main camera for audio. We'll set an angle, so it should be fine. Yeah, we'll get it set up and then show you some shots of the setup, talk you through that, and then show you the final shots when we've got them.
So we've got the 300X, Aperture 300X bicolor, and because it is daylight at the minute, we are just going to shoot 5600 Kelvin, and we've got the big Aperture softbox there to make it look really nice and soft. But because we want even more of a soft look, we've got 2 bed sheets to make it even softer. And then we're going to go here.
Is that?
Bed sheets is how we want it. That's a cinematic way. And then on here, we're actually going to attach, this, which is like a negative fill to create even more of a shadow on the left side to make it look even more like dramatic documentary style. We're just going to cheat this little sofa forward a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully cheat this over here.
Over here, just so we can fit the thing in behind. So obviously, because the window is meant to be a key light, that's where we added our 300X. You can also see the back window, which will obviously bring some light on the back of us. So we thought we wanted to add a hair light. So this is where I set up the newer MS60C with the mini softbox on, because that is such a tiny setup. You can fit it in a corner and really hide it away, especially if you do want to get some really nice light. And because that light is bicolor as well and 60 watts, we thought it was the perfect place to put it and the perfect light to use. We put a grid on it to really direct the light onto the back of her hair, and we had both of the lights on at 100% because we did expose for the background, which was very bright, obviously, because it was outside daylight. And luckily we did have the 300X, and even though it's not the brightest, the MS60C 60 watts, it still did enough to give us that nice hair light. Okay, so the 2 cameras going to go for today is the Sony FX3 with the Tamron 28-70, I think it is. And then we're going to do a handheld side shot with my Canon R6 Mark II with a 24-70. And we're going to back up to this mic using these Rode lav mics, but we are mainly going to be using the Sennheiser MKE 600 to get the main nice boom shotgun. But it's always best to record a backup just in case anything bad happens. So we'll have a backup to the camera, and I'll also record on here because these transmitters can record. So we've got 3 different backups. So this is the final image, and me and James absolutely love this one. We think this is the best interview out of the 3, and we decided to ditch the sofa in the end because we thought it was a little bit awkward, and with the armchair we just thought it was way more natural and comfortable for Pat to sit down and talk to us like a normal conversation. We decided to put that plant in the background to add a little bit of green colour, and we also added one on the little coffee table as well, just to add a little bit of foreground, and that really did help on the side angle because you got that nice bokeh from the 70-200, and this side angle also just looks so nice. And as you can see, we did add that negative fill, which really did help create that shadow, because in that room it was just really bright. So adding that negative fill really does help creating that shadow on the left side of her face, and it really just helps create that nice contrast and just really natural and documentary style look, in my opinion. The audio sounds fantastic using the Sennheiser MKE 600, which is what I'm using now to film on, and I'm absolutely so glad I got this mic because it sounds so good.
He cuts my grass regularly. If I ask him to cut bushes, he will. and I couldn't wish for a better garden service.
If you're going to do a documentary or if you're going to do any sort of video, audio is the most important part. If your visuals aren't the best, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, the story is what drives the video. And if you want to tell a good story, and if you really want people to engage and listen, then you really need great audio. And this Sennheiser MKE 600 is the mic to get, in my opinion, at that price. £230, I think it is. Such a great deal for such an awesome mic. I also thought it would have been a little bit harder to match the FX3 and the Canon R6 Mark II, considering they're both completely different look profiles, but I'm really happy with how the Canon R6 II holds up on that side angle. I think it looks amazing, the colours pop, the autofocus as well was great, and yeah, for both of them, we're really happy with the main and side angle. So we just wrapped now. The main angle on the FX3 looked lovely. We just packed down now. We're gonna go home and check the footage. And tomorrow we've got a nice shoot at one of my other dad's clients called George. He lives on a farm. That's gonna look really nice. And then in the afternoon, we're actually gonna film my dad's interview itself.
Here's our talent, Pat. Thanks for helping us today, Pat.
That's fine, and no problem at all.
We'll see you on the next one.
And also, if you're wondering why I'm so wet, it's not because I sweat, even though I sweat a lot on shoots. It was actually because of the rain. Like I said, the weather was horrible, which is the reason why we actually went indoors in the first place, because the initial plan was to get a nice seated interview outside on the outdoor furniture with showing the nice bushes or flowers in the background. But obviously, unfortunately, it was absolutely hammering it down, which also meant we couldn't get any B-roll with my dad and Pat. So that did have to be rescheduled for another time, which is a little bit annoying. Okay, so we're at location 2 and we're about to set up the main angle now for the interview. We're using the Sony FX3 again with the 28-70 and then the R6 II with the nice side angle. We're going to rig it up with the 7200. We're just setting up our main angle here on the tripod and we're going to look at this unbelievable background for the field. It's going to look amazing, and because the sunlight is going to be our main key, in a minute you'll see that we're going to set up some C-stands and put some bed sheets over it to really soften that sunlight, hopefully to create a nice flattering highlight roll off on the face, and then we're going to flag it with some negative fill to create some shadow. Let's just crack on, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to today.
So we're using the Freewell K2 ND. This is a really cool ND that you buy. It's got loads of different step-up rings, and because me and Sam have obviously different cameras and different lenses, we need to have those step-up rings. So we've got the Tamron, it's just a cheap Tamron lens, but it's got a 67mm thread. Obviously this has all the different step-up rings, so I can mount it to mine and to Sam's camera. Really nice ND, not too much colour cast as well, and it's all magnetic as well, so you can literally mount different ND, different filters just with magnets, so really useful tool. So I'll slap this on and get exposed nicely for our interview.
Outdoor interviews are a lot harder in my opinion than indoor interviews, especially if you've got a small crew and low budget, because you don't have the ability to add lights and remove lights inside, because obviously you're surrounded by light, especially if it's daylight like we was. It was about 12 o'clock when we done this interview. However, with the time we had and there's just 2 of us, best we could do was try and add some negative fill to try and create a little bit of shadow on one side of the face so it's not completely flat, and that's what we tried to do with this backdrop stand and this massive black sheet. But we ran into a little bit of a problem, and that was the wind. When I say shoots don't always go perfectly and something always gets in the way, this is what I mean. I've never experienced a wind like this in a very long time, and it had to be today when we wanted to put up 2 C-stands and a backdrop stand to create some negative fill and also some bed sheets to try and diffuse the light. Of course, it was going to be ridiculously windy on that day. Something always goes wrong, it's never smooth, but like I said earlier, you have to adapt and you have to improvise. So we've had a little bit of change of plan. The wind is absolutely wild and the backdrop stand just kept falling over, so we've had to change it up and use 2 C-stands and 2 arms and put this black negative fill on, which is a little bit smaller, but I think now we're going to get him seated down to make it a little bit more natural and easier for him. But we're just going to get this bed sheet up now to block off the sun. Putting up bed sheets is a really great and cheap way to diffuse light. If you don't have a lot of budget, you can just literally get some bed sheets, put them onto each other, and you've got lovely soft light. That's what a lot of cinematographers do anyway, not with bed sheets but with actual diffusion. You can get an actual diffusion panel for about £100, and you can get more and more expensive ones, bigger and bigger ones, depending on how much of the shot you want softening. But obviously that requires more and more stands and more crew to be able to do, because like I said, it's a lot harder to film outdoor interviews than indoor ones. But you can do it with some bed sheets, and we managed to do it with 2 C-stands and some clamps, We've really made it taut and tight just so we can it's not creased and like flimsy. You want to get it really nice and tight, and we managed to use that with the clamps and the C-stand. So we had a big change of plans. The wind was just way too heavy and too much over there, so we had to change it to here, and I'm actually kind of glad we did because it still looks really nice. And we went for a seated interview. We've got the lovely bed sheets, which is obviously the best filmmaking tool you can get to diffuse the sun, and we had this nice negative fill to create a lovely shadow, and we still got a nice like background for the garden anyway. And yeah, I'm still really happy with the interview. My dad's about to arrive now to get some B-roll, and then we're going to head over to his house to get his interview, and then hopefully we'll put it all together and make a really nice edit. Are you looking forward to your video?
Oh, definitely, yeah. What have we got to do now?
Just stare into space.
Eh? Oh,
Yeah, look around. Really sort of like model looking, like pouting.
It really does show that even with a small crew, low budget and determination, that you really can create something lovely, in my opinion. Because if you adapt and you really improvise and use what you've got, like we use £5 bed sheets, and you can still create nice soft light. It's not the perfect way to do it, but it's the filmmaker's way to do it, and that's just really a part of the craft. Really is just really going out there, enjoying yourself, trying to find different solutions to try and create soft light. We wanted to go for documentary style interviews, and the way we wanted to do that was to add shadow and soft light. And because we went out with the aim to make documentary style interviews, we really wanted to try and make this the best way we could, even though the wind definitely stood in the way, and it was really hard to try and do that. And I know we have the Sony FX3, which is an unbelievable cinema camera, which was shot to film an actual like movie, The Creator. If you didn't know that, you still can do this with like more budget cameras, and it is literally all about the lighting, because the lighting, negative fill and soft light is literally, and trying to make it look as real as possible with the scene is really what is going to make the best like cinematography, documentary style image possible, in my opinion, because that's what filmmaking is all about. So we just wrapped the interview with my dad, and today has been really hard. The wind has killed us. I really didn't expect it to be this windy, and we've literally had to mount our negative fill. We've got 2 C-stands, a ladder, and loads of other stuff just keeping it up, because it was just, the wind was just pulling it down. So we've really struggled with that, like we did earlier, George's interview. But because the lighting was a little flat, like we wanted the nice shadow, but it was just flat. So we managed to put a 300X up, blast it at 100%, and it did add that little bit of like shadow to the face and shape, which was quite nice. But unfortunately, I do think it's not as good as the other 2, but we still got it. We still got some nice answers. We didn't get much BTS for my dad's interview just because of how much struggle it was to deal with the wind. We were just trying to think of so many different ways to try and keep that backdrop up and trying to create a nice shadow. The 300X didn't really do much with the light, but it did add a little bit of light on one side of the face, and with a little bit of DaVinci Resolve magic with masking, I did actually manage to mask a shadow on the left side of his face to create even more of like a contrasty shadow look, which I think works really well, to be fair. It's probably the least documentary style interview out of them all, but I'm not gonna just not show it to you guys because I'm still really happy with it. It's just not as strong as the other 2, but I still think that added the shadow on the face helps, and also the props in the background, the lawnmower and the hedge trimmer as well. And not only that, the side angle also I think really helps with that nice movement at the 7200. So it's not a bad interview. I'm still really happy with it, and so is James. It's just not as strong as the others. The weather really was against us on this shoot. When I did the pickup shoot at Pat's to get the B-roll of my dad and Pat together, it was absolutely hammering it down then as well. But I didn't have a choice. I had to shoot it. It was just me at that shoot, and I just used my Canon R6 Mark II, which is waterproof. So we didn't have to use the FX3, and in the end, it actually looks really nice still. All of the equipment in this video that we use throughout the day, the lights, the cameras, everything, even the bed sheets, is linked in the description below for you to go purchase. I will get a little bit of a compensation if you do, because it is through an Amazon affiliate link, so it will really help out the channel. And if you did like this video and found it helpful, a like on the video would really be appreciated, as well as a subscribe if you do want to see more videos like this in the future. And if you do, leave your comments down below what you think, and if you would like to see more videos like this. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. See you later.